Because I look into the details on Dingdong, not a company that I was that familiar with, but it isn't profitable. Its losses have been widening. Is this part of the reason, perhaps, that investors were a little wary around the offering?
I think investors are a little wary because one of their main competitor, Miss Fresh, dropped about almost 30% the first day of the IPO. So that certainly spooked some of the investor. But from an investor point of view, I think like the key thing is don't forget that China market, particularly for online grocery, is one of the largest online grocery market in the world, and is predicted to reach at least 2.4 trillion by 2025. And versus in the US, is target about 250 billion by 2025. So it's at least still 10x the size of the US market. I think certainly with what happened to Miss Fresh is unfortunate, but I think it's very specific for that company. It's good for Dingdong to be a little bit more conservative.
Growth is accelerating, as you say, but it's a top-line story largely, and the profit margin looks a little bit uneven at this point. We've seen with a lot of these retail businesses that they can accelerate top-line growth just by being very aggressive on marketing spend and effectively offering you an opportunity where ultimately they're absorbing the costs. Is there, let me ask you, is there a break-even point here in the near future for this business? Or is it going to be another one of these tech stories where we keep throwing more money at a business that says, tomorrow we'll make profits, but today we're about scale?
I think that the key thing for us to really look at and pay attention to is not pure just a top line. I think with Dingdong, they're a really young company. They started in May 2017 and go IPO within 4 years. We certainly have seen other Chinese companies all about pumping the top line, but I think many investors, including myself, is getting a little bit smarter. The key thing is to really look at the true margin after all these crazy marketing and tax and insurance, what the true margin is, and just be a little bit more conservative and focus on that rather than chasing after the top line. And I don't think that is sustainable at all.
Can we talk about how competitive that grocery market is in China? Because as we talk about the West, still early days when it comes to the adoption of grocery and online delivery, but the Chinese market has been much more accelerated in that direction. It's been quicker to adopt some of these trends. So where do you think the upside is on that growth story, but also in terms of the moat for other rivals to enter the space and become more competitive?
Yeah, I think looking at the Chinese grocery market is a few things, particularly, and by the way, for Dingdong, they're not the only player. There's Miss Fresh and Pinduoduo, Alibaba, JD.com. All of them are also going after this online grocery market. And the biggest thing that's very, very different from the West is because China, in terms of population, is now 1.4 billion people. And most of the tier one city, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, you're talking about 30, 20 some million people. So they can actually afford to have distribution center right in the middle of the cities. And many of them, and many of my friends and family in China, when they order certain things, some of them sometimes will literally get it in less than 30 minutes. And that's the magic, I think, the Chinese supply chain and logistics have done something just amazing in terms of the way that they can do delivery. And then second, which is probably difficult for the rest of the world to understand, is that they're not only doing grocery delivery from a supermarket to a Chinese home, they're literally sourcing from farmers, from the original place where, and then actually put it in a warehouse to deliver. So the freshness of this, whenever I'm in China, it's almost unimaginable for me to eat frozen fish. That just doesn't happen. So in that sense, how do they actually make it happen? It's just super interesting. And sometimes it's difficult, I think, for the non-Chinese market to understand or appreciate what they were able to accomplish. But there's a lot of really interesting to learn and watch.